Hey guys, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about thankfulness. What does it look like to be thankful for your marriage? What does it not look like to be thankful for your marriage? And maybe some do's and some don'ts on trying to show your spouse exactly how thankful you are for them. Stay tuned.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. This is Rusty and Heather Bryant. We're glad to be back with you this week and excited to be talking to you about another important marriage topic. Before we get started, just want to make sure that you have visited our new website. It is theredeemedmarriage.com. Make sure that you sign up to be a part of our email list because there's a lot of new stuff that will be coming down the pipes in the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months. And we want to make sure that you're the first ones to know about it. So make sure that you are on our email list so that we can get that information to you as soon as we push it out.
I am super excited about today's topic. Really, really excited. And let me tell you why. And I don't know if you're listening to this in real time or right when it comes out. If you are, then you know that we just finished a season of Thanksgiving, headed on into Christmas. And because of that, I'm sure thankfulness and gratitude is on our hearts. And I've just been thinking about that over the last several days, and I wanted to do today's podcast on being thankful for your marriage. And I had thought about it for a few days, and we had kind of talked about it a little bit, and we've been out of town, and we were away at not even our home church this morning, and we were listening to the pastor, and he talked about what? Gratitude. I mean, surprise, surprise. It is Thanksgiving. But then on our way home, I was flipping through social media and somebody from our home church posted that our home pastor talked about gratitude and thankfulness as well. And I know that's not shocking because it is right here a few days after Thanksgiving, but it just was such a sweet reminder and a sweet affirmation from the Lord to me to be thankful for my marriage. But I know that that's really hard for a lot of people to hear and a lot of our listeners to hear because they're like, yeah, I'm not so thankful for my marriage. Or maybe I was thankful for it several years ago or at the beginning, but I'm not thankful for it now. It's brought lots of heartache or it's not what I thought it was going to be. And so maybe there's some disappointment in that. And so just as we talk today, I just wanted it to be a reminder of the importance of how we look at our marriage. And there's some things that we can do to make it easier to be thankful for our marriage. And there's some things that we don't need to do, things we say and don't say, that we can just kind of talk through to help people be more thankful for their marriage, whether it's really good right now or even if it's not.
Well, I think when you're talking about thankfulness, it's so easy to just try to look at the good things that your spouse does and say, I'm really thankful for those things. And then there's obviously things that they have shortcomings on and things that they're not so good at. And you just kind of determine, well, I'm not very thankful for those things. And I think that it all really comes down to just this attitude and an attitude of gratitude and just being, yeah, you see what I did there? But just being, learning to have this attitude of thankfulness because it's not, it's not being thankful because you have a perfect marriage. And really everything in life that you're thankful for, it's not perfect. It's not all perfect. And you can make a list of the things that you're thankful for. And maybe you did that this Thanksgiving. Maybe somebody told you to make a list of all the things that you're thankful for. Maybe you've done that at some point in your life. And if you go through and look at every one of those things, none of them are perfect, but you're thankful for them because you had to have an attitude of thankfulness for them. It's a perspective that you have of why you're thankful for those things.
Yeah. And, one of the things that my mentor challenged me to do several years ago is not only writing a thankful list of the good things that you're thankful for, but taking a breath and a deeper look and looking at the things that are hard that you're thankful for. Because we are living proof that you can go through a really, really hard time in your marriage, and on the other side of it, be thankful for where you are because of it. I don't think that you're thankful that it happened, or like even with my cancer journey, I'm not thankful that it happened, but I'm thankful for what I learned through it. I'm thankful for what God taught me through it. I'm thankful for what I learned about his character through it, and how that drew me nearer to him. And so even in the hard areas of marriage, in the hard times of our lives, we can still find things in there that we're thankful for. And not even if it's just the little things in it, but it's how we come out on the other side, and how we were able to see the faithfulness of God through it, or the faithfulness of God on the other side that you think, gosh, I didn't think we would make it, and we did. So it's 100% perspective and the lens that you look through when you're looking at circumstances in your marriage.
When we were driving back from church today, or maybe we were driving to church. Either way, I was in a different car than you were in because we were with family. And the sort of an old song, but Thankful for the Scars came on. And Luke, our oldest son, was in the back seat, and he actually has a tattoo that says "Thankful for the Scars." And it's just what you were talking about, because if a physical scar, if you have a physical scar, you can look at the physical scar sometimes, and you might have reason to be upset, of something that happened to you that caused a scar. And just being mad that ugly scar is still there, and when you look at it, but the perspective, like you said, when it's shifted and it becomes this attitude of, man, what God brought me through, whether it's a physical scar or just some sort of emotional or something, something that you've been through in your life that has left this lasting mark on you. You can be angry about it, you can be down about it, or you can look at the positive and what God has done to bring you through those things. So just like you said, but that song came on today, and I think it just went along perfect with what you were just talking about, and being thankful for those seasons and those times and those things that God has brought us through.
Yeah. One of the things that when I was thinking about what would people say if we were to ask them, what are you thankful for? Like, just when I look at our marriage, what is it that I'm thankful for in that? And what would other people say? And I think that list would vary considerably, depending on who you asked, because I think that there's a lot of people that are thankful to have, someone to walk through life with, like a partner, a helpmate, somebody to journey with. But then there might be other people that are like, yeah, I'd be much better off, thinking they'd be much better off on their own. And so it's not just, let's say all the good things that are good in our marriage, because in reality, there's a lot of people out there that are going through some really, really hard things that we still need to be able to say thank you for, to be able to, have gratitude in.
If somebody is out there listening and they're just in this spot where they're just struggling to be thankful for their marriage, what are some, I mean, could you give some ideas of where do you start? Like, what are some things that somebody that's just, really having a tough time in their marriage, and there's not in their world and in their mind, there's just not a lot to be thankful for. But we're trying to encourage you, have this attitude of thankfulness, this attitude of gratitude. Where do you even start to encourage that person to be thankful for their marriage?
Yeah. I think it would be finding little things. Even just the smallest thing. We talk to couples a lot when they're trying to rebuild and, walking through redemption and restoration, to find something that your spouse does, no matter how small, and encourage them in that. It's getting your eyes off of yourself. And seeing all the ways that you're mistreated or that you think they could do better and that you deserve better. It's getting your eyes off of yourself and seeing something in the other person that is good, that is worth speaking into. So no matter what that looks like, for some reason, I'm just thinking about the example of folding clothes or cleaning the house. Like, I know that I'm not, just hold on. Stay with me. Just hold on and stay with me. But like when I, am folding clothes, or if I have 6 loads that I'm trying to fold, instead of going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to do, it's shifting your perspective and being thankful that you have clothes. I know that sounds silly, but not only that you have clothes, but you have little ones, little people, and a husband or a spouse that you are getting to fold clothes for. You see that, what I'm saying, like in that perspective change?
Yeah.
Just changing that lens. And so saying, God, thank you that I have a husband that is helping to provide for me, or who, whatever that little thing may be. When I'm cleaning the house, it's, thankful that there are little feet that run through here with mud on them, like thankful for your family. So it's finding, and you can apply that to marriage as well. What are the little things? Did your wife cook dinner? Being thankful for that and saying, even if she didn't, even if she ran through Chick-fil-A, thankful that she, took time to do that and provide for your family. Did your husband take the kid to soccer practice? Or, just, instead of focusing, I think my point is, instead of focusing on all the things that he could have done or all the things he did wrong, maybe finding that one thing that he did right and speak into that and be thankful for that.
Well, one of the things that I think that thankful marriages do is that they actually voice that thankfulness. Mm-hmm. And I think that more marriages, we're quicker to voice the things that annoy us and the things that bother us and the things that we're not happy about. And we just totally forget to say thank you. And be thankful for even those little things. And it's crazy how we can overlook the things that we're thankful for, but we can't really overlook the things that annoy us or bother us. And, but to be honest, we do the same thing. I mean, even in our gratitude or lack of gratitude to God, we're constantly thinking about the ways that we feel like He's let us down, and the things that, when
He could do to bless us.
Yes, and the times that are tough, and we just want to point those things out. And then, we forget all of the things that we're blessed with. And it just is this, it's just an overall attitude of thankfulness. And it's the same with our marriage. And we talk about it, that we talk real life stuff on here, and we welcome you into our world, and we talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that kind of stuff. And I mean, even just this week, and it's crazy because I'm trying to sit here and think about this story, but we were laying in bed and you said something to me that was, I don't even remember what it was. That's how much I let it just blow over. But you said something to me that was kind of annoying. I don't even remember what it was.
Oh, come on. You got to remember.
No, I remember what I said to you.
Oh.
Because then I said, hey, now wait a second. I was like,
because you were talking to the dog.
That's what it was. You were like, you talk to the dog like he's a person. And I was like, so I'm like, I think most people do. And you're like, no, you just do it all the time. And you do it when we're trying to watch TV. I mean, you were just like on a roll. And I was like, well, wait a second now. I said, there's some things, and you were like, what is it? And I was like, I overlooked those things on purpose, and you made me tell you.
I didn't believe there was one.
Oh, dear. I'm about to hit pause on this thing. But we do, we're quick to point out the little things that honestly they don't really even matter. But then we can't get up we just don't have the attitude where we're thinking about how thankful we are for things. And so that would be the place that I would say to start, is to just find the little thing and this week, whatever that little thing is, and tell your spouse, like, say thank you for it.
Yeah. And when you're talking about thanking your spouse, it also makes me think of another one that is super, super important, in that you, in just as much of the way you need to thank them, you also need to speak positive things about them to other people.
Well, I think that just adds fuel to the attitude. So in a good way, it adds fuel to your attitude of thankfulness, because if you're sharing those things or speaking positively about your spouse in public, then that's just an overflow too of the attitude that you have.
Right.
And maybe it's not an overflow, maybe you're having to consciously do it, but it starts to become more of who you are and more of your overall attitude.
Right. And that doesn't mean that you're out there going, "Oh, my husband is the best."
Right.
I mean,
nobody, and people don't want to hear that.
Nobody
either.
wants to hear that. But I think that women especially can get really, really sucked in to a husband bashing party, where you're sitting around, and I think it was even brought to us recently. I know it was, about a group of women who are doing a Bible study on marriage, and it just keeps turning into my husband this, and he never does this, just kind of a bashing session. And like, you should never, ever talk bad about your husband around other people, and try to get them on board with what you're saying. Because you can always, we've said this before, you can always find somebody to tell you what you want to hear. And so if you're having trouble with your husband and he's getting on your nerves and you want to gripe about him, well, you can always find a place where they will encourage that talk and they will bash their husbands with you. But then again, what you were just saying, when you speak positively about your spouse, that kind of fuels that in the same way. If you're talking bad about your spouse and they never do this and they always do this, then that's going to fuel that fire in that way too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people sometimes will justify that or mask it by asking for prayer requests, and they're in a setting where, well, I really need to talk bad about my spouse, and so I'm going to frame this in the form of a prayer request so that everybody, and then it just snowballs from there, and people, it just adds that fuel.
Yeah.
And I think that people need to know, because there may be that person that's saying, well, you don't understand what's going on in my marriage, and I don't, I have to have somebody to talk to. We agree. that's why we do what we do.
Right.
Because yes, you probably do need somebody to talk to, but it's not your group of friends, or to be honest, it's probably not even your best friend. It's finding somebody that can be a mentor, a trusted, maybe even somebody. We say older sometimes. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody older, but it's really finding somebody, if you need to talk to them about something serious, it's not that you're looking for the person that's just going to agree with everything that you're saying. It's somebody that's going to listen to the problem or the situation that you're going through, and being willing to speak some truth to you.
Yeah. And you know what that truth is? The truth of that is you need to look at your heart, because you cannot change your spouse. So if you are constantly nitpicking and the negative, then somebody who's going to speak truth into you is going to say, you can't change any of those things. So what is your response going to be? What is your heart look like? Do you need to work on your patience? Do you need, it's somebody who's going to walk you through what you can control, and what you can control is you. What you can control is how you react to your spouse, your heart when it comes to patience with them. Those are the things that you can control. You can't control the other person. And so, we're talking about these bashing sessions where you're not speaking kind words, or you're not showing a heart of thankfulness. Well, how you do that is, how you change that is to make sure that you're somebody's speaking truth into you, and that you have to work on your heart and how you are able to see thankfulness even in those little things like we were talking about a minute ago.
Well, if you're talking bad about your spouse in front of other people, it opens the door to so much more dangerous things too,
Right.
because you're always going to have somebody that's giving you the whole, oh man, you can do so much
You
better
don't deserve
than that.
that.
Yeah, you don't. You're so much better than that person. Than your spouse.
You don't need to let them do that to you.
And then it can cause you to start really looking at other people and even comparing yourself and comparing your marriage. And we've talked about that dangerous trap over and over. But, you start looking at somebody, and then if somebody starts giving you some sort of more positive attention that somebody from the opposite, you're already looking for that, because somebody is feeding into you, oh, you deserve better. You can do better than that. I can't believe that they would do that sort of. And so all of that goes back to just the overall attitude, because if you had an attitude of thankfulness, then you wouldn't be bashing on your spouse. And then opening yourself up to other dangerous things and the slippery slope that we talk about so many times.
What about the person who is listening and is like, this is great, and I'm thankful for my spouse, but my spouse shows no thankfulness for me. Like, I work all day, I come home, I do dishes, I wash clothes, I cook dinner, I bathe the kids, I do all of that, and he just this or she just that. And I just no one, like my spouse never says thank you, and I feel unappreciated. Like what it's easy to speak to the person that says, oh, find something to be thankful for and thank them for it. But what if you're on that end and you're like, I just feel like, no, my spouse isn't thankful for me.
Well, I also think one of the things that a thankful spouse, the do's, the do's of a thankful marriage, we just talked about a don't, and that's the don't go and talk bad about your spouse. But one of the do's would be that you're thankful, and as you're thankful, you're serving and you're giving out of an attitude of thankfulness, and that's not really expecting anything in return. And so if your heart is in the right place and you're thankful, then out of a thankful heart, you're serving your spouse. And, maybe it is that you're doing all this and not getting anything in return. But I also believe that thankfulness and this servant attitude, it is contagious in a way too. And so, you may be like, oh, well, I have tried and tried, but nothing is happening. And, so much of that, though, again, it's your heart. Are you doing it because you want, and I can hear the people, well, just a little appreciation, just some acknowledgement.
Right.
And I mean, I get it. Like everybody wants that. Everybody, craves some affirmation and somebody to say thank you and being appreciated and all that. But in your attitude of thankfulness, so much of that is that I'm going to give and I'm going to serve without motivation and without needing something in return.
Right.
And as you're doing that, you're setting an example, though, for your spouse that hopefully in time your spouse is going to turn that around and do the same for you.
Yeah. And also remembering why you're doing it. I mean, our ultimate thank you, our ultimate well done doesn't come from our spouse. It comes from our Heavenly Father. And remembering to do that and being thankful, even if you're getting nothing in return, is you're doing it with a heart of I'm trying to honor God with being the best husband that I can be, or being the best wife I can be, even getting nothing in return. Because I do believe, I mean, you've joked with me about the number of jewels in your crown and all of that because of what you've walked through, but with me, but I do believe that God will bless us and will, that's our ultimate goal, is to be pleasing towards Him.
Well, there's, and I'm just sitting here thinking of other things that we do and don't expect thank yous in return, but yet we expect that from our spouse.
Yeah.
Like we hold that standard to our spouse.
Yeah.
And I mean, you think about your kids, all of the stuff that you do for your kids. And, it's nice if they say thank you every now and then, but let's be real. Whose kids do that?
Oh, thanks for putting my dishes in the dishwasher.
Thanks for washing my clothes. Thanks for feeding me dinner. Thanks for giving me this house to live in. It's not going to happen, but you do it gladly and lovingly.
Yeah.
And don't expect anything in return.
A lot of times at work, I mean, my boss doesn't say, thank you for turning in your lesson plans. Thank you for, loving these children. I mean, we do. We get thanks.
Yeah.
A lot. And they're kind. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, every little thing that you do doesn't get a thank you.
That's my job.
Right. It's an expectation. But then if you even make it bigger, here we are, we're expecting somebody to say thank you, and it's our spouse. Like that's really just about the only person that we really are having that high standard to. But like, think about all of the stuff that you're blessed with, that those blessings come from God. And I mean, if you made a list of 10 of them, how many times have you thanked God recently for those 10 things? Maybe none. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're constantly thanking God, but most people don't. And, what if God just said, well, I mean, you're not acknowledging this.
Hadn't thanked me for your help this week.
Yeah,
I'm taking it.
Taking that away from you. I mean, like that's the attitude. That's what we're saying. You could have that attitude towards your spouse, but we don't have that attitude. I mean, that's not the attitude that God has towards us. And so, like you said, we're supposed to be that correct picture of a loving Father, a correct picture of Christ and how Christ loves.
That's right.
And so that's what we have to do
with asking nothing in return.
Right, and that's what we do for our spouse.
Yep.
So, All right. Well, make it your goal this week to be thankful, to
Find
show
one thing.
one thing, show thankfulness, and then actually say it. Say those words to your spouse, and then give and lovingly serve your spouse out of that attitude of thankfulness, and see what it does for your marriage. It certainly cannot hurt.
It can't hurt.
Can't hurt. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.